Hello everyone, and welcome to AustCham Thailand's Business Connections community. Welcome back. In today's business section, I know it will be popular for our members, especially our SME members, as we have a very brief snapshot of some of the key legal updates in Thailand.
So most of the companies are already aware of the Personal Data Protection Act, or we call it the PDPA, that will come into force on the 1st of June. But it's still a long way to go until we are all fully compliant. A recent PwC survey showing that 51% of the companies have already started their PDPA process.
So in 2018, the Trade Competitions Commission has enacted the new competition laws, whereby now when you have the merger and acquisition deals, you need to consider the pre-approval or post-notifications process before you decide or proceed with the merger and acquisitions.
We can't talk about anything else without mentioning COVID-19. And for us in this legal industry, we have to all keep updating the COVID relief measures which is issued by the government. We can expect on more extensions for something like social security contributions, which the government helped in the past, but you have to keep updating on it because the maximum percentage of the contribution is 5% and they reduce it down to 3%, but it might not be the same this month.
There have been several tax measurements provided by the government during the COVID-19 pandemic period, but the most recent impact regulations will be on the foreign digital services. So right now, if the foreign operators of the digital service want to engage the activities in Thailand, for example, like video streaming or other kind of the virtual outsourcing platform, or basically is anyone doing business online from abroad now, so they are subject to VAT, value-added tax filings.
Khun Chaiwat, if I could stay with you, and if you could provide an update on what the BOI promotions are at the moment.
From December last year, the BOI has provided several packages to the investors. That also include the open up the new categories for the BOI privileges. For example, the elderly care home facilities and internal business process centers. In addition to the newly opened categories, the BOI also provide additional tax privileges for the large-scale projects.
I don't believe there were really business investment opportunities in the past for this product, and now with legal changes there are. I'm talking about the changes around medical cannabis. So can you update us on that? What's happening in the medical cannabis space?
Medical cannabis has been a hot topic in Thailand for the past 3 years now, I think, and the government still liberalizing the restrictions on cannabis quickly and positively.
Yes. And that's all we have time for today in the business section. I'd like to thank AustCham Director Khun Chaiwat for joining us.
You're welcome.
And also, of course, having our New Zealand Thai Chamber of Commerce President, our ANZAC friends, Khun Maya, for joining us as well. Welcome back. In our Connections section this episode, we welcome AustCham Gold sponsor, Minor International. And we have a very special surprise for you from the Minor Food Innovation Team. We have James and Khao. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks, Brendan.
Hello.
And they're going to show us how we can cook high-quality restaurant food in your own kitchen at home.
Brendan, today we're going to cook a beautiful Australian beef short rib in a cow soy curry.
That sounds like the ultimate, I'd say, Thai fusion, Thai Australian fusion food.
It is. It's a super delicious dish with a very tender short rib cut it's a great combination. So what we've done today is we've sous vide the short rib off the bone. It's been cooked at 58 degrees for about 6 hours until it's fork tender.
Right.
So that's a relatively new cooking technique, but it provides a super tender piece of beef at the end.
Yes, we're going to reheat it in the gravy that we've prepared. It's a yellow curry with a little bit of, we're going to add a little bit of coconut milk to make it nice and creamy.
Right.
Here, add that, give it a stir. So we're going to bring up the temperature up of the beef up to serving temp right now.
Simmering.
So, simmering.
Okay.
What we have here is the traditional garnishes to khao soy. So we've got some homdang or small red shallots. I've got some crispy egg noodles. Over here on the plate is we've got some chilli, some pickled mustard greens, which are also quite traditional. What we've done differently today is we've done a khao mangai rice. So we're serving it with a chicken rice.
Yes.
And the chicken rice obviously gives it a lovely flavour that complements the curry.
You mentioned before, I believe, the beef came from Queensland.
Yeah, the beef sauce from Queensland. So we've taken it off the bone. You can leave it on the bone if you want to, but we think for ease of eating in a curry with rice and noodles, it's better to have it off the bone. So we've done that today. I'll just get this ready here because we're going to serve it with a squeeze of lime juice.
Great. And just while you're doing that, I'll remind the audience that Minor Food, of course, are responsible for many great brands, including pizza company Sizzler, you can see on James's chef shirt here, also Burger King,
Correct.
various other.
And then this is our short rib here. So I'm going to put this just on the side there, like that. And we're going to finish this with a bit of crispy noodle. So the crispy noodle is going to sit on the top here like this.
Right.
We can get it to stand up.
So it's also something that you could feel like you're dining out as well.
And that is pretty much our khao soy short rib with crispy noodles.
Wow, that looks fantastic. Now, to James and Gal from the Minor Food Innovation Team, we appreciate your time. As mentioned, the menu will be sent out as well. But if you'd like the real thing, of course, visit any of the Minor Food outlets. And welcome back to our community section. Today, we're joined by what many would call a legend of AustCham Thailand. In fact, several of our other guests today have called him a legend. Original member of the Chamber back in 1977. John Hancock, 44 years with AustCham.
Wow. Time flies.
But we've invited John in today to talk about Anzac Day, and in particular, AustCham's involvement in the Hellfire Pass memorial site. So John, back in the 80s, I believe, the AustCham committee first became involved in the site up at Kanchanaburi.
No, that's correct. Just leading from your earlier comment, there is a lot I could talk about, but this is probably the most significant thing that we could talk about. It's a real highlight of the Chamber's activity, and it's a wonderful story how we got involved with this project. Mm-hmm. A very interesting story. We talk about the Chamber, and it's sort of the amorphous Chamber body, but the things that really happen or are really significant come from the activities of individuals. And there's one individual who played a very significant role in the establishment of the location and development of Hellfire Pass, and that was a chap called Kenneth Bradbury. He was really the key that brought many different elements together and put Hellfire Pass right into the lap of AustCham. And AustCham took up that project with a huge amount of enthusiasm, and we appointed Ken as the chairman of the Hellfire Pass committee, which we created at that time. Ken was a very active committee member, And he had participated very actively in a Ratanakosin memorial project that we had in Kanchanaburi in 1982. That was, funnily enough, that was a project to provide power through a micro hydro plant for people who were displaced because of the building of the Vajralongkorn Dam. The people who were building the dam were Snowy Mountains Engineering Corporation, a well-known Australian corporation. And in the course of building that dam, they came across many of the old trails, a lot of the old railroad and sleepers and spikes. And they used to get an occasional visit from prisoners of war, Australian prisoners of war, who used to make a pilgrimage back to that area. Took them many, many years to get enough courage, I think, to come back and visit that site. We did have visits from the Governor General, Hayden. We also had a visit from Bob Hawke, came up at that stage. Tim Fisher, who was a great supporter of Thailand for many, many years. He came up here. And also Sir Edward Weary Dunlop, who was a very, very famous doctor who was a prisoner of war in that area, and did just a fabulous job on supporting the people there on their medical needs. And ultimately, in 1998, Prime Minister John Howard came to Thailand and officially opened the centre there.
So I appreciate you coming in and updating on the story, because a lot of the AustCham audience now will ask the significance of why we always do the tour up there, and it really is an important part of what the Chamber does. And
there's a very nice publication called Hellfire Pass Memorial, which Ken Bradley actually wrote.
Right.
He actually wrote this back in '87.
And when you're visiting, you can, of course, get them from Hellfire
Is that right?
Pass.
That's available there.
So, John, that's all we have time for today. I really appreciate you coming in and telling the story. It is a very important story for AustCham Thailand's history, and I'm sure we'll be able to update it in other ways over the years to make sure that the legacy continues. So, thank you, John.
My pleasure.
Thank you.